Thank you for listening to What's on Krista's Mind podcast. And today I have some very special guests, but before I do that, we are sponsored by the Vera Project at Ground Zero Radio. And before we get into it, please go follow all of their great community work and all of their socials too. And today, I don't know how to introduce because there's like 3 guesses here. So it's a little hectic, it's a little crazy, but I feel like that's what a lot of the Filipino Asian American culture is. And this is based, and these guesses that I have were actors on the play Bloodletting, and I had the opportunity to go watch them. So if you guys could introduce yourself one by one of what you guys did in the play and also your role and also your name and pronoun, please.
Let me go first. My name is Roger Tang, and I use he, him pronouns. I'm the executive producer for Parkfield Productions, which means I organize, I find funding, and I minister what happens on the production and around the group in general.
My name is Anna. I played Leelee in Bloodletting. I use she, her pronouns. Yeah.
I'm Janai. I played Farrah and I use she, her pronouns.
And I'm going to read a little quick summary of what bloodletting is, just for everyone to know. But from what people have said and summarized, it's on a journey to the Philippines to spread her father's ashes, a woman who Janai plays, Farah. A woman discovers her supernatural powers. Will she embrace her inner good or evil? And then like the comments are just phenomenal. It's just praising you and everyone in it. But now that the production is over, I guess, how does it feel that everything is done and complete? Because you guys also did like a streaming version too, but I know that's like different from actually like having to perform it in front of people.
Well, for me, I really strongly suspect that this will be my last show in a long time, so it's really sad for that reason. But as a little bit more time has gone on from closing, I realized that a lot more has actually stuck with me than I initially thought. So I do feel like the experiences and the bonds that we were able to form as a cast and with the production team have maintained itself, that I still feel like there's this weird nostalgia for the Princess Café, even though it didn't really exist. And yet it did. And yet it did with all of us in that room. And so I miss it a lot.
Yeah, same. I actually feel like about halfway through the process, second week or so, that I was really getting started and actually figuring out and delving into more of the character and where lots of different points of the story aligned. And I think closing weekend, I feel like, you know, most actors feel that way, you know, like every single time you perform, you get closer and you discover more. And I think that, you know, even one more week or so is another opportunity to discover more. The same like Anna, I do feel a lot of nostalgia around it. But yeah, I'm almost like one more week or another more week, and it could have been like, you know, as our director Zenaida, she saw it the first time, and then I think it was like, was it a week later? And she's like, it's already different, sort of a different performance. But yeah, I think we all sort of feel that way at some point.
Mm-hmm,
Sure.
mm-hmm. I mean, it's like I have a different perspective being the producer. So, I mean, I'm not on stage all the time, but it's like there's that, you know, the way the cast bonds together, the crew bonds together, and the cast and crew and the audience come together. It's all kind of, it's one of the more special shows I've been involved with. It's like the support we get from the Filipino American community was kind of amazing. We had people, you know, we had donations of food. We had people coming up to us, you know, after the show saying that, you know, just giving all the cast hugs and, you know, saying that, you know, it's like, this is, you know, they feel like they were back in the Philippines when they saw the set and when they were on, and they saw people working on it.
Before we delve into, I guess, like the more logistics of how you guys got involved with Bloodletting, I guess, how did all of you guys want to be involved in theater? I feel like theater is a very like underrated major, and I know that on campus it's, well, I guess UW is more specific towards like STEM and just engineering, but I always like love learning like more niche, smaller majors, because like I'm an English creative writing major, so like I know that's like different from theater, but I know like theater isn't always something easy to pursue.
Well, I know for me, it's like it may surprise some people, but it's like I don't have a formalized background in theater. So basically, everything I know about theater is I picked up on the job. I've only taken only one class in as an undergraduate, and that was in stagecraft. So I don't, anything I know about, breaking down characters, the arcs of, of a play, how to write a play is something I learned along the way. Now, of course, that's like around 45 years worth of stuff. So it's like you're bound to pick up something along that time. But I mean, by degree, I'm a geologist in journalism, but I don't do that now. So I mostly do theater.
I didn't know a lot of that.
What?
Anna looks confused.
No, I'm learning.
Yeah.
Oh, me. I didn't set out. I think theater found me. I didn't really find it. It was, yeah, my friend wrote me into an audition that they wanted. I guess they didn't really have the confidence for it. And they just like put my name down for it. And I was still involved in the creative field. I was doing a couple of film production classes, and I realized that film production is so chaotic in general. So many moving components and parts, and I just liked the personal sort of creativity and internal creativity that you have to sort of structure and find in yourself with theater, and also how that differs very much from film work. Just the aliveness of it. I would say that my parents were, at least from my mom's side, the traditional Asian American, and sorry, I take that back. She's not Asian American. Asian woman. They're not the most academically, in this way, they're not the most traditional. They're not most academically inclined. They did encourage a lot of creativity in us when we were younger. So I never really was drawn to any of the sort of more STEM-based fields, etc. But acting was something that definitely came along a lot later in life.
Okay.
Yeah. I think so. Yes, definitely. Getting an English major probably right out of college would make you a similar amount of money as getting a theater degree, I think. So I think we could probably bond over that. I personally even dropped out of theater school, so I don't even have a degree. And when I tell you how little money that makes you, you're going to be shocked. I dropped out initially out of theater, out of something I was really passionate about, because I wasn't able to find the emotional stability, structure to handle what it meant to kind of delve into a world, have a whole team of people, supporting you and also relying on you. I wasn't ready for it at the time. Fast forward 6 years to Bloodletting. First of all, the reason why the Filipino community showed up for this show is not only because Filipino Americans are fucking killing it in the theater community in Seattle, talking about Sarah Porcolob, Justin Huertas, Rihanna Tiendo, and then a ton more that I'm not even
naming.
Yeah, our whole cast minus Shania, honorary Filipina. And we're hungry for it because you so rarely see shows like this. So when I saw this pop up, I know I'm realizing I'm kind of answering the question that you'd had previously.
No.
but it's part of it, Krista. and it's that doing theater is hard to do sometimes because you constantly have to find that belief in yourself that the story that you're trying to tell is something that needs to be told, and something you pour so much into that you can't help but be attached. And yet it's also one of the easiest things to do because it's all about what you care about. And so the chance to do a show like Bloodletting, which is something I cared so much about, my Filipino culture, it was a no-brainer. And I just took depression meds on the side. Everything was fine.
How would you guys say like the theater industry has like evolved from when you guys first started? And I know Anna, you have a very like unique experience because you said you dropped out, and then like, oh my god, I'm like imagining right now if I dropped out right now, and I'm like, I don't know how I would be able to like navigate that. So I think that's a very unique experience that needs to be talked about more.
Thank you, Krista. I'm available next week if you'd like to do this even more deeply. I guess I can answer that.
Yeah, go ahead.
For me, I think that, well, first of all, the pandemic changed everything. So in my little fledgling years of theater, or really the few years before the pandemic, and then these couple years, after, in big quotes there, I think it's tough because it's not necessarily these larger theaters' faults, but I think that a lot of theaters feel the need to put on shows that they know that take less risks because they need to be able to make that money, especially post-pandemic. And I think that's made it somewhat difficult for new blood to break in to some of these other circles for theater, which has always been difficult, but I think especially now. I think the stories are, there are some really amazing ones. Cambodian Rock Band was fucking rad. Wolf Play was great. Love those shows. I do think that there's a lot of strategic picks though for things that they know will attract sort of a base of theater goers that have been attending the theater for a while, not really attracting newer people or younger people, which is unfortunate because I think that it's like that work that's really exciting to a lot of young theater artists, theater people in general. Why am I saying young? and
you are still young.
Thanks, Krista. It's work like, Portfield Productions, like Wet, other ones that are pushing, and ACT as well. Like that they've taken some risks in their repertoire. They're making shows that are uplifting newer writers. I feel very much in a soapbox about this, so I could really keep going, but I'm gonna.
I am new to the theater community very much, so I think that you can take me on the soapbox for me.
Well, we're talking to the. I don't know if you knew this, Krista, the granddaddy of Asian theater. Okay.
Well, yes. I mean, I broke in with the second wave of Asian American theater artists. David Henry Wong was one of my college dorm mates, and I worked on one of his first shows. So basically, I've been around since for the last 40 years, seeing how the theater and general and pop culture is with Asian Americans, and the whole thing is that yes, it is better. I mean, back in the day, you can say that there were actually no Asian Americans on stage or on screen. You could, the story you could tell was that they could tell me or an actor said, "Why are you here? Today is for lawyers and doctors. We were casting for Orientals last week."
Ugh.
So, and even at that, there's been some improvement over the last few years. I've seen more and more Asians on stage, and that it's gone to the fact where, well, I can't afford people now. So and that that's sad for my particular situation, but it's like it's really great for them. It's like they can afford, they can be playing with the big boys. They can be playing with on the big stages. We have Ray Tagavilla on the ACT stage with our Christmas Carol, playing one of the major showy roles. So, but even at that, um, we're still at a very constrained situation for Asians on stage. Asian Americans make up 20% of the population in King County, but they only make up 5% of the roles on stage, and they have been for the last 8 to 10 years. And people like Porkfield and Sis Productions and other Asian American groups have made up a third of those roles. So basically, there is a lot of catching up to do for the mainstream theater, and that's not just for actors. That's for stories. I keep a little list. I like to tweak some of the other bigger theaters in town. There's a list around. Right now it's around 36 plays that have yet to see an Asian that yet to see a Seattle premiere. And these are people, like David Henry Wong, Lauren Yee, Kui Win, some of the biggest names in Asian American theater and Asian American film, actually. So, and it's like the backlog's getting longer, but I'm doing my best to be able to relieve that backlog.
No, and I think you guys are already part of changing that game, because it's always interesting to see how we still don't get represented like equally across the board. And then like there's that whole like racial aspect of it too, with skin color and who gets to be like on stage and like performing. But then it's also wondering about like the intentions of why there is that one token Asian there. It's like, are they just fulfilling that diversity requirement, or are they actually there for that specific role, or were they like being intentful with it? I think there's just like a lot of hot waters or just like controversies with that. But to bring it back to Bloodletting, because I don't want it to just be so boxy, because I actually do want to talk about the play. Were there any scenes for you, Janai and Anna, that were particularly like hard to act in? Because you guys play very strong characters in the play, just very much in each other's face, screaming, and also like there's a lot of tension, but I think that's also like
all genuine tension. By the way.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah. There were definitely parts where I just had to sit down and figure out, let's legitimize why this character is behaving this way. Let's find a reason, because in her life, it absolutely has to make sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Living side by side, the character at least with the brother, who witnessing emotional and physical abuse, and just maybe it's some form of, I don't know, Stockholm syndrome or something, but just seeing it, internalizing and just seeing it as perfectly explainable behavior, with the whole dynamic with the father and Bosley, and yeah, just rationalizing, and also being able to treat Bosley, my brother in the play, treat him with such contempt, and still be able to sit with myself and be like, no, he deserved it. It was entirely warranted. Yeah, those are probably the toughest moments for me.
There's a lot of stubbornness in Farah.
Yeah, for sure.
How stuck in her ways she seemed to be, and how, I guess in her eyes, it's very much like a perfectionist, like narcissist, just like I'm right and you're wrong.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And I don't know, I always feel like if I had a brother or like a sibling, because I'm an only child, I feel like that was a very reflective image of what could have been. Or like I kind of see that in like my own Filipino families, the dynamics between siblings, and how like that's a very like I don't want to say accurate, because maybe that's so much of an exaggeration, but the tension was very much like there, that I could relate to, which is probably why I cried.
It rings true. It rings true. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is something that would keep happening. Is people would keep telling us after the show, like, oh yeah, Bosley and Farah, like that really, that totally reminds me of my relationship with my brother. And I was like, are you okay? Are things going well?
I mean, family can trigger you like no one else. They can bring out the absolute best and the absolute worst. And we can treat each other in ways that I think if your friends or anyone at work or outside, if they saw that side of you, they might not recognize you. I definitely recognize that, coming from a big family, and
wait, tell us.
No, I just had Thanksgiving. Let's not.
No. Many siblings.
Many siblings. Yeah. Yeah. It was some parts were fun to dive into. A little back and forth. I mean, Bosley is very sweet, but sometimes when we come up together, I think Farah or Janai sometimes can be like, well, I'm sure that's annoying on some level if you have to live with it every single day at home. She's a real character in the play, so we gotta
and
give
in
her
you
that. And in me, yes, yeah.
I think the first scene was the most difficult for me. Leelee, okay, first of all, I don't speak Tagalog, and I, before doing Bloodletting, worked at Archipelago, which is a Filipino fine dining restaurant, for a little over a year or something, or before then, and I'm so used to seeing, like old school titas and titos coming into the restaurant, and they're looking at the sinigang, and they're thinking how they're comparing it with their sinigang, and I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna do a Filipino accent for all of these titas. I can see the faces, and obviously that's sort of the longest block of text that's in Kinaray, which is not Tagalog, so there you go. And there's no intention from the director or the playwright that the audience understand what is being said. I think that makes it unique alone, in addition to really setting the tone for the rest of the play, with just me being up there. But it's Leelee in a very unusual position where it's the most vulnerable, it's the most intimate between her and herself, and then also her and her power, and finding throughout the play sort of how to calibrate the girlishness, the true sort of joy that comes from joy in just experiencing the world, that comes from maybe a certain degree of loneliness as well. I'm also an only child, by the way.
Oh.
Calibrating that and a slight immaturity with not really knowing how to interact with other people, maybe a bit of selfishness there. Calibrating that with this really genuine strength that she has and this really deep longing. And I think that once that scene was figured out, which, like Janai, I don't even think I really tapped into properly until that second week of shows. It's always how it is. People think they're being nice by coming to opening, and they are, Roger, they are, but no actor wants you to come on opening.
This is true.
But they should, Roger. But once that scene was figured out, closer to the end in the rehearsal process, everything else kind of clicked in. But that was definitely the most difficult.
And you said you don't speak Tagalog, but on the pamphlet it said, is it Kira? How do you say it?
Kiraray.
Kiraray. Do you speak that fluently or
no?
No.
I
Okay.
am 3 different ethnicities, and I don't speak any of them.
It said Korean, Indonesian, and Filipino.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's too much. If I'm being honest. English is all I got.
Yeah. Was there a specific pick for this language over Tagalog?
That's what the original that is what the language is, and also it's what. Oh, I see what you're asking. The playwright, that's what he grew up hearing.
Okay.
So just his own experiences.
Because, I mean, I couldn't really tell the difference when you were that opening scene. I'm like, oh wow, that's pretty fluent, and I think I could pick out like keywords of like, okay, I think I know what this means, and then I kind of just went in with like a blank head of like, I think I know enough to understand what is going on.
Did it help that I was going like, blood? I don't remember the lines anymore. That's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah. There was, okay, I guess this is a more silly question because I know there's a part where you two kiss and then Leelee goes, I didn't kiss you because I like you. I did that so you would stop. Oh my God, I couldn't hold back my laughter on that. But I guess it's like, did Leelee like Farah a little bit? Was there feelings for the two characters?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Okay.
I don't think so. I think that it could very easily be interpreted that way because I think that Leelee has a very sensual personality.
She does.
But I don't think I mean, oh God, you don't want a soapbox. I genuinely think that so much of what it means to live is connected to sexual feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Because the kind of, the sense of really being connected with someone, really wanting to get to know them, to being astounded by someone, genuinely, being in love with your friends, loving your friends, maybe. Am I learning something about myself? but I think it was just real, genuine, maybe a little bit of hesitancy there, but Leelee saw Farah and saw a beautiful person and had genuine love and interest in and for this person. So while I don't think the feelings are necessarily sexual, I think she found the friendship arousing.
So no.
Yeah.
No. I also think it's because the character, lived an isolated life and a different set of rules, no inhibitions, and that might be easily misconstrued as, Leelee's character coming on to Farah when it's just you being purely who you are and, inviting and friendly and warm, and Farah just, takes that and runs with it a little, maybe.
Because basically, Leelee's responding to Farah's loneliness and isolation, and frustration about her life, and just trying to give her a taste of what she wanted, and that and that was I don't know. It's like it was given. It's a gift given freely, and that it also had the plot, the plot motivation of making her stop here in her tracks, because it's totally unexpected, by either the audience or her or Farah. So
I think it was a necessary moment I don't think Farah would ever have offered that information, and so it's like Roger said, a gift in a sense that Leelee's like, I recognize you, I see you, and I accept him and bring this out in the open, and we're gonna deal with it here, sort of, in probably the least traumatizing way possible, because she kind of wants it, but she doesn't want to, let everybody else know, and that's just how it all unfolds.
Leelee has known the whole time that Farah's been
everything that
thinking the thoughts,
Yeah.
And I love that Leelee is just like, just face it. It's not something that you have to run away from, and it's not even something that has to be like embarrassing or shameful for us.
For sure.
Would you guys say the chemistry between the cast was always there, or did you guys have to build it? Because it seems from how I like seeing now, like there is like a little bit of like Leelee and like Farah, and like how you guys like interact, just a little bit of just like that back and forth. But I think like you said, like it's very affectionate, it's very genuine, and it's like like very family, like very familial with each
Krista?
other.
I cannot express to you how well cast this was.
Yeah.
Truly, everyone
Uh,
had so much truth naturally in
Okay.
their characters.
Okay.
And so I guess based on the show, you would think, well, maybe they wouldn't get along. I don't know. I don't think it took much time at all for us to
yeah.
bond. I mean, it was pretty.
Pretty fast.
Yeah.
For me,
Yeah, I'd say so.
Jenai's like, no, I didn't like you. I actually didn't like you.
I would say if we're talking about Farah and Leelee's, I guess because we're here right now. I mean,
Oh, you better choose
no, I'm
carefully.
trying. I'm actually considering this.
the actors.
Oh no, well, your question was, did we always have chemistry or did it build?
Mm.
And that's what I'm trying to consider. I'm trying to go back and think, or is it just like
I don't know. I think you're hurting Anna's feelings.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead. No. I always felt with Anna because she does have some very Leelee-like qualities.
Mhm.
She's a very open, generous personality, and also as an actor as well. Well, acting with Anna, she always, when we had scenes together, she always pushed me to explore and play and take what we had and really work with it as a craft. And I think that sometimes we did have some, push and pulls, and that did create a chemistry, maybe some dynamic that's still a little left over that we see here now. So yeah, I think we always had it. To answer your question, yes, Anna.
It was really easy working. with
Yeah.
Janai.
Okay.
Like Janai was always so down to try anything
Mhm.
and to like do anything and offer so much.
Mhm.
And so it got built over
Mhm.
time. But I can say this because I haven't done any shows in the last 6 years.
Mhm.
This is by far the most bonded I've been with any cast I've been in the last 6 years. By far.
Uh-huh.
Easily.
Yeah,
It was
a lot of fun.
amazing.
Yeah,
Sam and Matt too.
yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, Sam actually speaks the language. I can't even pronounce it properly, but he had so much wealth of knowledge and insight that he just doled out to everybody in the little wise, gentle, little bits over the whole course of the show. And Matt was always energy, always high, always ready to go. He's always getting everybody hyped up. He was like hype man for us all. Yeah, and also the crew too. Crew was so much fun to work with.
Yeah.
Porkville Productions.
Yeah. Well, it's a little bit of a skill to try to bring together people who you think would work well together, but sometimes it's sort of like you get lucky and the cast and crew just really clicks. So it's like I can't claim a lot of credit for this because I wasn't as involved in casting as some other shows, but it's like
Uh-huh.
but it's like, dude, this is what I want. There you go. If you want to blame somebody, it's like you blame the director. You say yes, this is all the good for cast. Hey, that's your fault that we had such a great cast.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sam, when he would have his moments in like the native language, I think there was one where he's like patting himself down and he was like, please, like what did he say? He's like, I will not die, I will not die, I will not die. He's like, please protect me, I will not die, I will not die. But okay, for the setting, the Princess Cafe, have you guys been to the Philippines? When I first saw the set, I was like, oh wow, this is like the cafes or like the Bahay Kubays that that my mom would take me when I was like 9 and 12, and then like the last time I went was before the pandemic, so in 2019, and it was just very like nostalgic. So seeing that like recreated was I think that really helped with placing the audience in the setting. And that's why I don't think when you had asked me like, oh, does it matter between like a day or a night show? Because regardless, I felt like I was always in there. Yeah.
Super cool. I haven't been, so I all this.
I haven't been either. I was supposed to go. My Lola's from Cebu, and I was supposed to go, and then the pandemic happened, and then I didn't. I will say that Josh, who is our sound engineer, went to the Philippines before the show and recorded sounds in the Philippines. So what you're hearing
is actually
yes.
Oh,
and so I feel like I almost didn't need to go because Josh gave it to us. Yeah. God, that was.
Oh yeah.
Came to life.
A lot of people have told me that though. They're like, it looks just like the Philippines. Like it takes me back.
Yeah, we did work hard on that. We worked with our set designer and prop person. Neither of whom have been to the Philippines, but we worked with our culture consultant, Eloisa Cardona, who has been. Eloisa has been a longtime member of the Seattle's Asian American theater community, and this is for her first show as a cultural consultant. She came through saying, "Well, this is how it works. These are type of restaurants we're looking at." She did a lot of research on Google and did a lot of work with Robin, our set designer, and Jessamine, our prop designer, to get the appropriate decorations and the appropriate props to be using on the show. So that really added to the feel of how that you were actually there in the Philippines. That this is something taken from the Philippines and put on stage.
I think with the row where I was sitting at, everybody were saying similar things of like, wow, like it's like we're in the Philippines. And I think there were some like native like Filipinos, and I was eavesdropping, obviously. They're just like, oh, like they were referred to like by other friends who had seen the show too, and they were like fluent in like Tagalog. So I feel like you impressed them, because like I was crying and I looked to the side, they were crying, I was like, oh, we're all crying.
Wow, that's the power of theater.
Yeah. I think the Filipino American community really came through for us. They really came out and supported, and I could tell, and just talking to a few people about it, the pride and the happiness that they had seen, their culture represented, and I could really tell it meant a lot. So it was really special to see, for sure.
So for, I guess, our last question that I will ask, on a more lighter note, have you heard, no, well, not have you heard, but like, did you guys grow up with like hearing aswangs or like Filipino like related folklore or like any of that, superstitions?
Well, I looked at Janai,
but you know the answer, which is no. But I do have an interesting story. So I work as a server at a fairly large restaurant, and I was talking to this middle-aged white guy, and he looks at me and he goes, "You see any aswangs out tonight?" And I was like, "What?" Excuse me?
He's That's like, literally from the play.
Exactly. And I was like, "Who told you? Did Rob tell you? Did Bernie tell you?" And he's like, "Nah, it's looking a little spooky out here." Anyways, that's all to say, yes, you saw the play. I just think it's amazing that if the aswangs are entering into the Pacific Northwest vernacular and it's becoming well known out there, all power to it. No, but I unfortunately have never heard of an aswang before this play.
I grew up hearing about aswangs, a little bit. I think it was tough because I'm the first person, like first generation to be born in the U.S. And I think, but my parents were both educated in the U.S. and just the American dream of it all. My family was really sort of intent on Americanizing me.
Okay.
As a way of survival, not out of a lack of pride. Although, to be honest, maybe a little bit, just because of the impact of what it means to be a person of color, especially at that time. Roger. Genuinely. And I think that I know you said lighter. I'm gonna say this really quickly, because I love this so much about Bloodletting, which is like, Bloodletting was such an incredible show for people who, were from the Philippines, and also for people who had never been to the Philippines and were maybe a quarter Filipino and maybe had always wanted to experience, or feel more connected to their culture. Mm-hmm. And there's so much, identity politics and maybe a feeling of, am I enough of this thing to claim ownership of that identity, whatever it may be. And what this show brought to me was a very clear example of like, at the end of the day, actually, regardless of what you want, you can't escape but be it.
Yeah.
You can't run away from being queer or being Filipino. You can't, somehow be, you can simply exist. Mm-hmm. And that is completely valid and enough for what it means to be who you are. Mm-hmm. And all you have to do is just face it, just be it, just allow it to mm-hmm. happen. Mm-hmm. I thought that was something that was really powerful about this show, and I certainly, this is just such something I'm so proud of to have been a part of with everyone here.
Mm-hmm. Well, being that I'm second generation Chinese American, no, I did not have any stories of aswangs growing up.
Or I guess Chinese folk lore, folktale.
Not a whole lot, because I am second generation. My parents were born here, but I think part of my mission, almost to the point of, I've been, pretty desperate to actually put these stories on stage mm-hmm. and to put these stories out there so that people can latch onto them and use them as a source of strength to be able to say, oh yes, I exist, I am here, this is part of my life, and this is valid. And to see other people, validate that feeling and saying that, yes, you do belong here and you are part of life. This is something that people, that I can share with you, and that I can, that everybody can gain strength from each other for that. It's Asia is such a large country. I've been the way we've been working at Porkville is to work through a lot of the countries. Last year we did China. 2 years ago, 3 years ago we did Thailand. And this year we did the Philippines, and next year we'll do something from Vietnam. So basically we're trying to, round out that experience and give people a taste of a little more authenticity and a little more, authority of how things really are out there, instead of just, representations and caricatures from people who aren't really from those groups.
Mm-hmm. Well, those were all of my questions. Thank you guys for being here with me today. But before we go, do you guys have any upcoming projects or anything else that you want to speak about? I know, Anna, you said something about the fashion industry, but you're still networking on that, I think, question mark.
So I got a new job in the middle of the last week, mm-hmm. and the requirement, which is like a dream job and an amazing career, but they were like, and if you want to do this, like, you're gonna be living, eating, and breathing like this new career, which is, makes sense now that I've been doing the job for the brief time that I have. Mm-hmm. I had to pull out of some things, and there were some projects that I was really excited for that I was auditioning for next year. So Sis Theater is doing a show called Unrivaled next year in collaboration with the
Seattle Public Theater.
Thanks, Roger. And I think that's going to be a really awesome show. I'm obviously not a part of it, but I would really recommend checking that out when it does come out. And then, I'm sure Roger's going to talk about the very cool Vietnamese show. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Follow me on socials. Snap for snap, babe.
Excuse me. Portville has a couple of projects coming up. Actually, we have something coming up in December, second weekend. That we're doing a brief revisit to Joy Market, where this is a co-project between us and Jet City Improv, where we brought 10 Asian American improv actors to do a show. We're doing something like that over at Arts West in December. And next year we're going to renew that by doing Joy Market 2, Theater Off Jackson. And it's going to be improv, comedy, sketch, all based on the film of Studio Ghibli.
Stop.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Looking forward to that. And our main project is that we'll do CIS Productions. We'll be working with CIS Productions as well in producing our own production of Viet Gone, which is about the love story, and with a little bit of sex thrown in, of two Vietnamese Americans and their diaspora to America. So very fun, very funny,
very exciting things.
Yeah, very funny, very very good stuff, very good energy. It's by the author of Raya and the Last Dragon, so it's gonna be a fun show.
I do not have anything upcoming. I kind of took a break from acting. And Bloodletting was my first sort of entrance back into it, so I kind of just focused on that. And I'm just excited to see what's next. So I'm gonna go see Unravel. I'm gonna go see everything from Porkfeld. That's what's up on my calendar. That's what
you better audition.
I need to get go with it too. Thanks, Roger. Thanks for Ryder.
Okay, well, yes, this concludes the end of the podcast. Thank you again for being here. And thank you to Moss for setting everything up. He's not in frame, he's at the back, but a big shout out and thanks to him and the Bear Project and Ground Zero Radio. And we hope that you will listen to the entire podcast of this because it was cool. I had fun. And I hope everyone else here had fun too.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yes.
Okay, but I will see. Hopefully I get to interview more people later on. But you should follow Anna and anyone else here. Because Anna was the prominent one who was like, follow me. Okay, bye.
Bye, Krista.
Oh my God. You're an only child too?
I love networking.
Yeah.